Welcome to Visibility Spotlight. I'm Leslie Short, owner of the Cavu Group. And as you may know, Visibility Spotlight is the video portion to Visibility Unlimited podcasts. So welcome. Today we're going to be discussing what's been happening with the Cavu Group. So I have my right arm and my left arm with me. Lynn, Barbara. Woo!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm just going to kick it off and talk about 2021, and then we'll talk about all the things that we've done and what we're going to see our own, the Cavu Group predictions for 2022. So, COVID, resignations, Zoom firings, Zoom hirings. We had hybrid working. We had fully remote. Come on now. Barbara, what did you see?
We're coming back, then we're not coming back, then it's all back to the start again. And here we are.
Len.
And some who didn't have kids and some who had to deal with kids. And do they go to school? Do they not go to school? Are we vaccinated? Are we double masking? Are we washing our hands? We sure as hell better be washing our hands. and 2021 was such a year of hope that this would be behind us.
Yeah. And here we are. And here we are. And here we are. We had all these directors and heads of DEI and culture and people. And we're getting to that in a second. But before that, let's talk about our year. Let's be a little selfish for a second. Barbara, you joined the team. Welcome.
Thank you.
Lynn and I have been like kicking this off. And it's great to have, like I said, a right in the left arm. We have been doing it. We have been rocking. We've been working, Board of Education, parks, film, TV, speaking. We've done podcasts. The book came out. Like we've had an amazing year. We're grateful. One, I'm grateful for both of you. Two, I'm grateful for the amazing clients that we've had the opportunity to work with individually and as a team.
Yes.
And here we are in 2022. I'm going to steal a saying from Chanel from the NBC, from Today Show. She goes, look what we're going to do in 2022. So let's talk about what DEI needs to do in 2022.
Well, Leslie, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be able to join you and Lynn. I'm happy to be on board. And I was thrilled for the opportunities we had in 2021, even despite all the craziness in the world. So I'm glad we made it to here. Now what?
Yeah. And I want to add, first of all, Barbara, it's great to have you on board. And Leslie, you're leading the charge here and having been working with you for a couple of years now. And I'm going to say the world is catching up to Leslie Short.
Indeed.
I just want the world to catch up to itself.
Yes.
I don't think it's too much to, we always say accountability. What's the accountability? So we as a firm are accountable to know what's going on, to understand and break down whether it's part of diversity, equity, inclusion, culture, what's happening in the news, the laws of HR. It's our responsibility. Mm-hmm. We have to be accountable for our clients. We now need our clients to be accountable for their staff, for what they do. Yeah. So, Barbara, you had a great question.
Yes.
Go for it.
So here we are, January 2022. In middle of 2020, we gave them a whole year now, so there should be something to report. We saw a lot of diversity hires, heads of diversities, chief diversity officer, culture officer, really big titles, going to really terrific folks. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? We haven't heard again from those folks. They've been in place now a year. Hopefully they're still in place.
I don't think they are. That's the problem.
That might be the other side of it. But here we are. That was mid-2020 when we were full thrust into all the craziness that was happening, and there was going to be change. And what are we doing? And this is how we're going to fix it. And then there was silence. Yeah. So my question is, where are all those folks that got those high appointments? What did they walk into when they took on these big positions? Did they see any strategies in place? Were they able to put any in place? And where are we now? Mm-hmm. I think that is the gauge as to what's happened. Did we really accomplish anything? Or sadly, was that again just lip service?
Well, I think it goes back to those great titles. Were they part of the C-suite? Did they have a team to actually execute past being an event team? Were companies truly prepared to do the work? And when we say do the work, peel it back. You have to get down. Who are you as a leader? You've always hear me say that. What's in your bag? What are you going to bring? What are you offering your staff? What are you really giving the power to those people with those titles? Lynn, you found something great today. You said you were reading and researching.
Yeah. So a couple of things. What I want to comment on is, I don't know the answer to your question, Barbara, about where those people are. But from the conversations that I have had and that I hear, and at the C-suite level, it's a serious commitment to focus on racial equity. So it's a commitment, and I don't have the answer about what's the ecosystem to have it be truly successful in a company. But go ahead.
No, keep going.
But I know from the conversations I have with Fortune 500 companies, this is a really important part of the corporate evolution. And they may not be getting there perfectly. So I don't know where these people are, but people in terms of being in the title of Chief Diversity Officer, I know that the interest and the commitment is there and growing.
Yeah, but I'm committed to lose 10 pounds. That doesn't mean I show up at the gym every day and actually lose it. So I mean, this year at 2022, we have to push a little harder.
Yeah.
We have to stop talking about the commitment and what is the action? That is the question I think we're looking for now. What is the sustainable, true action that's happening? Because I think that's part of the issue. People wanted to have only the racial equity conversation. And this is bigger than and I hate to say it, racial equity conversation. That is a big part of it, but then you need to have the disability, you need to have the aging, you need to have the pay, there's so much more to it. And then I think when they realize, oh, we just can't have one conversation and this all goes away. You just can't put Black or brown people in place and be like, yo, we good.
Yeah.
We've committed, because you haven't invested then.
Yeah. Here's that example.
Yes.
So NASDAQ received SEC approval for board diversity, to have one woman and one person of color, which is, these are all the companies listed on NASDAQ. That's it's the beginning. But then I was reading today, so this is 2022, and they don't have to have it fully in place till 2025.
Yeah, well,
what's going to take 3 years?
Yeah, and as great as that sounds, right? Not only that, but as great as that sounds, we are so way behind internationally. Companies abroad have been insisting, almost mandating that their boards have women and diverse women, and so we're saying, "Oh, look, we're going to do it, and we have till 2025 to do it." Which again, it's sort of like, is that indeed a full-on commitment, or is it wishful thinking? We're trying to do the right thing. Here's a start. What do we do?
Well, think about it. Think about the ones that did commit and raised their hand and said, we're committed to this. And then their hands have slowly gone down and said, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. All those companies, not all, a lot of those companies that did make that commitment to say they were going to be part of, whether it's NASDAQ or the other, all of a sudden now they can't, because what do we hear, Barbara, when we get the call to get hired to help find people? We can't find anyone. Well, where are you looking? You can't find women. You can't find people of color. You can't find Black folks. Come on. At this point, you have to do something different.
Absolutely. And it's not just, as you alluded to before, that it's not just racial. And then because of everything that was going on in 2020, it became very specifically racial. So that we didn't see Asian Americans get in positions. We didn't really see a lot of Latinos get into positions. And so is it in another 10 years, will then we address the Latino situation? And then in another 10, do we address Asian Americans being put in place?
Disability.
Are we going to get anything? Disability? Are we going to see LGBTQ?
Right.
Are we doing it in segments forever?
Right.
When does it sort of start working sort of seamlessly that we finally figured it out and we have it moving forward so that it just works? It still feels like it's not making the point that this makes business sense.
Right.
The world is not what it was 10 years even. And so this now makes sense that we are all here at the table, contributing, letting our voices be heard. And if we're doing it in piecemeal, this year, this folks, next year, those folks, we're going to be here still another 10 years from now. So I think that's what we need to figure out. How do we move forward from where we are right now? Because we're moving forward too slowly at the moment.
Yes.
Question, and this is for both of you, actually. Sometimes it starts with the conversation in a company and an organization. Mm-hmm. And the work that we've been doing with you, Leslie, leading the charge, you break it down into some really basic concepts about understanding our own implicit bias, about understanding the power of words. Mm-hmm. And when you are doing those, when you are having those conversations, what progress are you seeing? Because it's got to start with shifting of perceptions.
Yes. You know, what I love that I'm seeing is that aha moment of, I didn't look at the word that way. I didn't think it affected someone that way. I now need to review how I say things or the tone for which I say it, or just be aware that everything doesn't mean the same in every culture. And so, you know, that is one of the big things that I hear, especially when we speak about words have meaning. And someone's like, oh, I just didn't know. I took it for granted. I didn't know what that really meant. Oh, I just used it because it was a trend and I saw it, you know, hashtag blah, blah, blah. Well, when we break it down, they're like, oh, because there is what we said, words have meaning. And until we take a break to understand what we're saying, what we want, what's the why? Why are you doing this? You know, I always ask the companies, why is this important to you?
Yes.
Is it a quota? Because then that's not going to cut it. What's the why? And I think if companies don't start asking themselves, what's the why? And then understand, as Barbara said, this makes good business sense.
That's right. Companies now understand their number one stakeholder is their employees.
Yes.
And giving employees power. Employees are taking power in a whole new way, right? The great resignation, people saying, yes, you know what, boss, you don't meet my standards. Adios.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that might be the best thing that came out of COVID, that employees now know that, you know, we've proved that there's a need for employees, that in so many cases, the job can be done remotely if need be or not need be. It was done. So yeah, there is an empowerment that wasn't necessarily there before. So maybe that in itself creates a shift so that employers realize, oh wait, this is serious. We can't no longer just talk about it and put up pretty pictures. It's time to really address issues in a substantive way. Like, what is the strategy? How do we build from here?
What do people always ask us when we're doing these interviews? What is the culture of the company? 2 years ago, you never heard someone really ask that. Of all ages, of all colors, we're receiving that. What is the culture? Yeah. Who sets the tone of the culture? Yeah. Those are questions that's being asked. So on the flip side, when we're working with leadership, preparing them for new employees, we always say to them, you're being interviewed as well.
Yes, that's right. And part of the conversations are, what is the culture and what is the ecosystem for success? So when you're bringing in the next generation, and if you're bringing in a diverse set of employees who come with a lot of challenges, do you have an ecosystem in place that would ensure that that employee is going to be successful when they get into the workplace.
Right. You have to invest. And that's why I say, how I feel about belonging. We won't get into my rant on that. But it's not about belonging. It is about, have you invested? Do you have educational programs? Do they know how to find them? Are you making people jump through hoops to be promoted, to be there? Because people will now say, I can start my own muffin company.
Right.
I can knit for a living. I can do the things that I want to do, because it's about a life and a balance and an understanding of my worth as what? A human, as part of this process.
That's right.
And so I think for 2022, and ladies, you tell me what you think. I think if companies don't understand the humanity that must go with a check and an investment, they're going to be missing out on some amazing employees.
And some amazing talent, because folks are not going to do it when they're not going to sign up for it anymore. They have realized that they have options and that they can start that knitting company, or they can start that baking company and cupcakes, whatever it is, and make it work somehow, because now we've all had to make it work
Right.
in what has become an uncertain time for everyone. So I guess we could say COVID has been the equalizer, because we're now sort of in this uncertain place.
Nice.
Big companies are sort of stuck if employees don't want to come back, or if they're insisting that they're going to work remotely because now it's been done and this makes sense for their lives. They're going to have to bend,
Right.
and figure out how this works going forward. So maybe that's the silver lining in all this in current insanity.
So 2022, where do they go? Is it hybrid? Is it flex schedule? What is it that's going to create the bottom line? And we may not have the answers. If we do, we have a whole nother gig. But I think these are the questions that companies need to be asking themselves. One, the culture. Who is creating it? How do we sustain it? How do we invest in it? Not the ping pong tables and all of that, because we're all half on Zoom, half in. How do I invest in my employees? How do I retain talent? Right?
Right.
What else?
How do you retain them, and how do you make it now so that they want to come back? Because just saying, oh, okay, you could stay from home. Okay, well, we've been home and now we may all be home again. So what else is there? It now has to be literally and physically equitable.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, okay, well, you can have, no. Let's iron this out. Let's put it on the table. What does being an employee for XYZ company look like now?
Mhm.
And they need to have that ready. They need to have that plan, so that when they're onboarding or bringing employees back, they know what they're doing.
Right.
And it's not a guessing, or well, maybe we can. And we've had 2 years, we're going on 3 years to work out a plan to figure out what it is we're doing and not doing, what worked but didn't work. And now is the time that all those things that you hoped for start sort of coming to fruition.
Yes.
I would say there's two parts to it. I do think that companies recognize that the power has changed, and that they need to prove to employees that this is a valuable place to work, and that you're a valued contributor to fulfilling our corporate purpose.
Mhm.
And so then the question becomes, do you come into the office? Is it remote? How flexible? But I would say this, there are a lot of people that don't have that choice.
Yes.
Think about the frontline workers. You can't do nursing and doctoring remotely.
Mhm.
Teachers are grappling with it. Schools are grappling with it. A lot of our frontline workers, whether it's in healthcare or transportation, they don't have the choice of being, well, I'll just Zoom to drive the bus.
Supermarket, pharmacies, all these things that we took for granted.
Yes.
All these people that we half said hello to, maybe said hello to, have been standing strong.
Yes.
What are we doing for all of our workforce? Doesn't make a difference whether it's a C-suite or a supermarket. How are we treating each other when we show up
That's right.
to execute a job?
And everyone, back to the humanity point, everyone, no matter where they are, is a valuable part of an organization to fulfill its purpose, but also that gives the people that work there the ability to fulfill their own purpose.
Absolutely. And
Well
speaking
said.
about the humanity, you realize really quickly that there are no little small jobs or menial jobs or unimportant jobs. Folks weren't eating if those delivery guys weren't showing up to drop off deliveries when you were afraid to leave your house,
Right.
being in the way and being there. So the delivery guys were pretty important guys at the moment. Thinking their weight kind of rose above CEO weight in the moment because the CEOs were home. They were doing their thing, and those poor delivery guys, those poor restaurant guys, were doing the work so that the rest of us could keep functioning. So it's sort of, we really have to shift how we're looking at all of it, so that if we get back to some kind of sanity, because at this point that's what it feels like, that everyone is treated like they matter, like it all matters, like what they do. Just because you're not the doctor, just because you're not the head of a corporation, doesn't make you any less important or any less deserving of the treatment for the job you're doing.
And equity,
For the service
equity
that you're providing. So I
Yes.
think that's what 2022 is going to have to sort of pull together and sort of, maybe now we'll get it, because now we've had 2 years of sort of just maybe this, maybe that. How about if we put it this way? How about if we turn it on its side? Now it's okay. We've turned it on all the sides. This is what needs to be done.
And we
Everybody
still
has,
come back to people.
yeah,
We still come back to people. You're right. We have flipped it. We have turned it. We've put sauce on it. We tried to dress it up. We tried to throw some money at it. We tried to give it titles. People. Listening to people, understanding, as you said, that this is, what's my new favorite thing now? A crescent. You have to be able to rock this. All of this must stay together to make a full circle.
Yeah.
If this doesn't pan out, you're not going to get to there. So how do we end this? Well, we started and we ended this particular conversation on 2022 and companies understanding, hopefully realizing we're back to people again, same way we started.
it doesn't happen without people. I mean, bottom line, all the technology, all the machines, all of it, it doesn't happen with us showing up. So we need to back to basics. Take care of your people.
I think 2022 is going to be a year of transitions. As we're dealing with Omicron, there might be the next wave, and it will be smaller, faster and smaller, and then we learn to live with it. We get a pill if we get sick. But the transition to a new place of the work model, because that's definitely changed. What is that going to look like? A year from now, we'll look back. I think we'll have more answers. Because I think it's a year of transition, and it's a year of, are we serious about this transformation, or are we just spouting?
Yes. And so if we're serious about the transformation, a year from now, we will be able to really, and look, things have changed. I don't want this to be pessimistic in that we haven't seen change. I know I've seen amazing change in the clients that we've worked with.
And we've seen, in those same times, we've seen people change the goal.
Yes.
Where before it was so me focused, so money stuff. Now what we're actually hearing is people say, yeah, I have that whole resume, but now I want to do something that's mission driven. I want to be able to give back. I want to know that what I'm doing today is going to be okay for my kids and my kids' kids. I don't remember ever anyone being interested in that. And the fact that people get it, that there's got to be more, and that a lot of folks are actually going out looking for opportunities that address more missions and things that we need to address, I think that's hopeful. So if nothing else, we've now shifted enough so that at 2022, people get what's important and they actually really want to do something about that. So I'm hanging my hat on that. That's the shift that moves us to where we need to be.
And on that hopeful note, I'm seeing so many companies that are trying to identify their corporate purpose beyond just the bottom line, and that the corporate purpose and the purpose of it is imbued throughout an organization. That includes employees embracing the corporate purpose that's above and beyond the dollars that they make. So this purpose-driven economy is starting to take hold, and whether it's the corporate purpose or your personal purpose,
Right.
We're seeing that, and that's a hopeful place to be.
It is.
And so on that note, the way that I always like to end is to continue to expand beyond your current culture. Continue to expand your purpose personally and professionally. And remember, at the end of the day, it starts and it ends with people. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Barbara. We have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
And we're rooting for everyone.
Yes.